For the most part, I've really enjoyed this new Disney XD DuckTales series. It's filled with adventure, mystery, great characters, and tons of amazing jokes. But if I had to choose one episode that fell a little flat to me, it would have to be Terror of the Terra-firmians. Let's talk about that. On the surface, Terror of the Terra-firmians has almost everything I could ask for in a DuckTales episode. It's a throwback to the original comics and the old cartoon series. It dives deeper into that endless tome of knowledge, the Junior Woodchuck Guidebook, and it even gives us hints as to the whereabouts of a fan-favorite villain. I'll get into what doesn't work for me in a minute, but let's just talk about the plot first. Webby, the boys, and Lena just went and saw a monster movie, and Webby and Huey are arguing over if mole monsters like the one they saw on the big screen could actually exist.
It says right on the poster, based on an actual true novel.
This is the only book I trust. If it's not in the Junior Woodchuck Guidebook, then it's not a thing.
Webby insists that there's a race of mystical Terra-firmians living under Duckburg, but they just can't agree. So Lena proposes the only reasonable solution.
Let's go find them ourselves.
What follows is actually a pretty solid little adventure underground, one that pits Webby's secret journal against the knowledge of the Junior Woodchuck Guidebook. I actually really love how the episode plays these two books of knowledge against each other, pitting Webby's obsessive desire to explore and have adventures against Huey's staunch defense of known facts. I also really want to try Webby's imaginary candy.
And what's that?
Oh, just a drawing of a candy I wish they made. Webby dings.
And that?
Me as a superhero. Look, can we just focus on all the exciting stuff I just said?
The episode also gives us some cool insight to the nature of the Junior Woodchuck Guidebook itself. Not only does it already have a huge catalog of supernatural beings in it, Huey shows us that the Junior Woodchucks can add to the book themselves, showing us a page where he penciled in a lot of the magic creatures we saw in the DuckTales pilot. This kind of makes the guidebook a slightly more official version of the journals we saw from Gravity Falls, a mysterious tome of knowledge that each holder gets to add to. That's really cool, and I really want to see what else is in this book. The episode even has some strong character development. We get to see how Beakley doesn't really trust Lena, and even though Beakley's instincts are kind of right, how Lena is conflicted about the kind of person she wants to be, and has to make a choice, ultimately earning Beakley's trust in the end by choosing to do the right thing. There's also plenty of great jokes on the way, so if there's character development, good jokes, and interesting storytelling and structure, why does this episode not work for me? After thinking about it, there are two main reasons, but one of them isn't really the episode's fault. It's the networks. If, like me, you watch DuckTales in its broadcast order, this episode comes immediately after the introduction of Lena. But it wasn't supposed to. According to the Wikipedia page and comments made by the show's creators, we were supposed to see an adventure with Scrooge before Lena was even introduced, and then a few more episodes before we even saw her again in this episode. That means originally, the show's creators planned for us to have some breathing room from when we first met Lena and when we learned more about her. For some reason, though, the broadcast order was slightly rearranged from the production order, which means that instead of having a few adventures of Scrooge between Lena's first episode and this adventure, viewers saw a season front-loaded with just the kids and hardly any appearances by Uncle Scrooge or Donald. That's certainly not this episode's fault, but that gap in pacing makes it a bit weird to watch for the first time. I just wasn't used to the idea that Lena was actually part of the group. Her introduction just needed more time to breathe, and it seems like it was supposed to. Forgiving that weird circumstance, however, there's not a lot wrong with the story. It's a really fun back and forth between Huey and Webby, with plenty of great jokes in between. But for me, there was one more problem with this episode, and I'm really sorry to say that it's from one of my favorite characters. My biggest issue with this episode is Launchpad. I really hate to be the kind of person that nitpicks characterization, especially in a new show like this that's trying to take all these characters in new directions. But Launchpad just never rang true to me in this story. Throughout the whole episode, there's a recurring joke where he thinks Dewey is a mole creature, and it just doesn't work for me. The gag is that after seeing a monster movie with the kids, Launchpad is convinced that mole creatures are real, and he grows increasingly more paranoid as the episode goes on. A lot of the jokes are actually really good, but I just have a hard time believing that Launchpad is that dumb. I mean, nobody's going to argue that he's a smart man. He's a silly, hilarious, immature man-child. But it just didn't work for me, and it took me out of the story on more than one occasion. On the other hand, I kind of can't hate it, because it gave us this exchange, which I absolutely adore.
I can't believe my best friend is a mole monster.
I'm your best friend?
Oh no, it can hear my thoughts. Keep it together, Launchpad. Gotta change the subject somehow. Hey, you know what we should talk about? Another subject.
Sure.
So, Launchpad may not have worked for me in this episode, but overall, Terror of the Terra-firmians is a really fun episode, and I like the way it pits Webby and Huey's personality and perception against each other. I also love the story it doesn't tell. We spend the whole episode watching two characters at odds with each other over the existence of a mythical creature, only to discover at the end of the episode that the mythical creature they're arguing about the whole time has been having the same debate about them.
I told you they were real. I told you they were real.
That's just a really fun reversal, and it's a nice nod to earlier versions of the Terra-firmians that don't actually have to retread the stories told in the comics or original cartoon. Either way, it's a pretty fun episode. It's just not my favorite. If you haven't seen the whole season yet, maybe hold off to watch this one until a few episodes after Lena's introduction. That's it for this review. If you've been enjoying these, don't forget to like and subscribe for new episodes when they come out. Either way, thanks for watching and sticking with me, and as always, take it easy, Internet.